أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطاهرين. Verse number 251. فهزموهم بإذن الله وقتل داود جالوت وآتاه الله الملك والحكمة وعلمه مما يشاء ولولا دفع الله الناس بعضهم ببعض لفسدت الأرض ولكن الله ذو فضل على العالمين. They routed them with Allah's permission, and David killed Goliath, and Allah gave him the kingdom and wisdom and taught him whatever he liked. Were it not for Allah's repelling the people by means of one another, the earth would surely have been corrupted. But Allah is gracious to the world's creatures. This is, of course, a continuation of the story of Goliath and Saul and also David. We heard that previously. I said that Banu Israel were defeated by Philistines, and then they came to a prophet of them, Samuel, and they asked him to appoint a king for them. And after appointing a king, some of them were reluctant to go to fight. Those who went were tried by a river. It was hot, they needed water, and the king, Goliath, said that no one should drink from this river. Many of them failed. Eventually, just a group of 300 were there in the battle, about 300 people. And these 300 people fought against the multitude of people in the Goliath army. And now it says, فَحَزَمُوهُمْ بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ. They rooted them out with Allah's permission. Of course, it is an act of people. Those few people did it, but everything in this world happens بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ. What happens by the act of people is just part of many different factors that have to come together to make something possible. And here, of course, the possibility of that event, especially the small group of people overcoming a huge group, a very well-armed army, was, of course, bi'idhnillah. He managed, he prepared everything so that this group would succeed. فَحَزَمُوهُمْ بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ وَقَتَلَ دَاوُودُ جَالُوتَ. And in that battle, David killed Goliath. Apparently, before David killing Goliath, no battle took place because Goliath was coming for few times, asking for someone to go to hand-to-hand battle with him. No one dared. He was very strong. And David had just come to the army by chance. He had come to bring some food for his brothers who were in the army because he was very young. He was not a man to fight. Now, when he came and he saw that Goliath was actually bragging and no one was going to fight him, he thought that this man should be kept quiet. So he went and asked Talut, would you permit to go and fight him? And Talut said that you cannot fight this man. You are just a young boy, and he's a big combatant, a very brave one, a very strong one. No one can stand him. He said, if you allow me, I will do that. So he went without sword, without anything, just with a catapult that he had. And with that catapult, he just took 3 stones, and 1 stone was enough to kill Goliath. 1 stone hit on the forehead. It's interesting that David, the Israelite David, overcame Goliath by a catapult and throwing a stone. And Palestinians today are throwing stones against Israelites. It's something very interesting. Anyhow, وَقَتَلَ دَاوُودُ جَالُوتَ وَآتَاهُ اللَّهُ الْمُلْكَ وَالْحِكْمَةَ. And Allah gave him kingdom and hikmah. Now, about this catapult of David, there has been many exaggerations, of course. The stories say that he, of course, by 1 stone, he hit David in his forehead, Goliath in his forehead, and by one stone he threw towards the left wing of the army, and all of them were killed, and the other one to the right wing, and all of them were killed. These are the exaggerations which come certainly through the storytellers, but what certainly happened was that by one stone he killed Goliath. وَآتَاهُ اللَّهُ الْمُلْكَ, Allah gave him kingdom. Apparently, this mulk means that an overarching kingdom over all the Israelites, because even Talut didn't have that overarching power, and many Israelites did not go to him with him to battle, and they stayed behind. So the first person who had this overarching kingdom in Israelites was David. But this, of course, did not happen immediately. They say after 7 years, when Talut died, then he became the king and the overarching power that he had. Now, in the Bible, there are lots of stories about David and Talut, and they actually have tarnished Talut's integrity in a very bad way. He said that he was jealous of David. When they came back, people were saying chanting in the street that Talut killed thousands of the enemy, but David killed tens of thousands of the enemy. And so he became very jealous. He wanted to kill David several times. He couldn't. So David ran away. These are the stories of the Bible, and stayed in a cave until, of course, Goliath died, Talut died, and David became a king. These are just stories in the Bible. We don't have any such thing. Talut is praised in the Quran very much, as it says, وَزَادَهُ بَسْطَةً فِي الْعِلْمِ وَالْجِسْمِ. Allah has given him lots of knowledge, and he was appointed by Allah as king. And someone who's appointed by Allah as king would not do things like that. إِنَّ اللَّهَ قَدْ بَعَثَ لَكُمْ طَالُوتَ مَلِكًا. Allah has appointed, it's not Samuel. He himself did not appoint him. So the stories about Talut in the Bible are stories that do not go according to our understanding from the Quran. So وَآتَاهُ اللَّهُ الْمُلْكَ وَالْحِكْمَةَ. This hikmah, most of exegetes say that it means nubuwwah, prophethood. And before Talut, of course, there was no one who could, before David, there was no one who could combine nubuwwah and ra'asa, kingdom, and prophethood together for oneself. However, hikmah in the Quran is usually not used as nubuwwah. Nubuwwah is differentiated from hikmah. Hikmah is given to many people before they become prophets. And here, all these are before David becoming a prophet. And therefore, this hikmah means knowledge which is different from knowledge of the book, knowledge of, as the Quran says, about the teachings of the Prophet, يُعَلِّمُهُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْحِكْمَةِ. Kitab are the rulings of Sharia. Hikmah are mainly things which are to do with knowledge of the unseen, the way people describe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is hikmah. وَقِيلَ النُّبُوَّةُ لَمْ يَكُنْ نَبِيًّا. So, قبل قتل جالوت. Anyhow, apart from آتاه الله الملك والحكمة وعلمه مما يشاء, and Allah taught him what he wanted. Of course, not David wanted, what Allah wanted. Some exegetes have said that what is the point of saying this? علمه مما يشاء. Whatever he wanted, whatever Allah wanted, taught David, while he has not explained what it is. And Shaykh Tusi mentions that the reason is that he wants to tell us that he had given him nubuwwah, had given him hikmah, had given him mulk, but he actually exclusively gave him certain things that no one else had. Like, for example, the language of the bird, like, for example, the language of the ant, probably language of all animals he knew. He gave him the knowledge of judgment, al-hukm bayn al-nas, and many other things that he had and no one else could have. And also, allamahu mimma yasha shows that this knowledge was so special, so grand, that it couldn't have been described for ordinary people. وَعَلَّمَهُ مِمَّا يَشَاءُ. Also, some say Zabur is included in that. وَآتَيْنَا دَاوُودَ زَبُورًا. Zabur is a book given to many prophets, which does not contain rulings, different from Kitab. We have in Surah Fatir that the prophets came to people, بِالْبَيِّنَاتِ وَالزُّبُرِ. With Zubur is the plural of Zabur. So many Zaburs Allah gave to many people. However, here when he says, Atayna Dawood Zabura, in this sort of tone, we gave him a Zabur which is very special, was very special, very grand, very important. So, وَعَلَّمَهُ مِمَّا يَشَاءُ, Zabur is included in that. وَلَوْلَا دَفْعُ اللَّهَ النَّاسَ بَعْضَهُمْ بِبَعْضٍ لَفَسَدَتِ الْأَرْضِ. And if it was not for the reason that Allah repels the people by means of one other people, some people by means of some other people, the earth would have been corrupted. Of course, when we say the earth would have been corrupted, means the people on the earth would have been corrupted. Of course, when people are corrupted, other things on the earth will be corrupted as well. But mainly it means the people would have been corrupted. Now, what the exegetes have mentioned about لَوْلَا دَفْعُ اللَّهِ النَّاسَ بَعْضَهُمْ بِبَعْضٍ لَفَسَدَتِ الْأَرْضِ, the earth would have been corrupted. They have mentioned several things. One of them is very appropriate to the context. Others, although they are right in their own place, but they are not related to this context. What is related to the context is that if Allah had not repelled the wrongdoers, the oppressors, the kuffar, by the means of the believers who believe in God and integrity of human being and believe in justice, then the earth would have been corrupted because they would have overcome. This idea has been mentioned in the Quran in different places as well. For example, in Surah Hajj, we have وَلَوْلَا دَفْعُ اللَّهِ النَّاسَ بَعْضَهُم بِبَعْضٍ لَهُدِّمَتْ صَوَامِعُ وَبِيَعُ وَصَلَوَاتٌ وَمَسَاجِدُ يُذْكَرُ فِيهَا اسْمُ اللَّهِ كَثِيرًا. Here, specifically, God speaks about religion. And that is if some people were not repelled by others in their excessive kufr, then they would have destroyed the churches, the synagogues, the mosques, and the monasteries in which Allah is worshipped. Here, of course, is a very interesting idea is put forward, and that is, for Allah, what is important is a place in which He is worshipped, whether it's a synagogue or a church or a mosque or whatever. If there were not some people who have defended these places and defended faith, then, of course, other people would have destroyed it. وَلَا يَنْصُرَنَّ اللَّهُ مَنْ يَنْصُرُهُ. And if anyone helps God, aids God in this means of repelling the kuffar by destroying everything, Allah would help them and aid them. Here it says, وَلَوْلَا دَفْعُ اللَّهِ النَّاسَ بَعْضَهُم بِبَعْضٍ لَفَسَدَتِ الْأَرْضِ. This fasad again would mean that the faith would have been disappeared. The faith would have gone. Fasadul ard here is that the faith would have disappeared from the earth, because the most outstanding fasad on the earth, corruption, is that all people become disbelievers. God is forgotten. This is the most important fasad on the earth. So if this was not like that, if Allah had not repelled Goliath by David and by Talut, then of course he would have overcome and would have killed all the Israelites, and the worship of God would have gone. He would have destroyed everything. So Allah wanted this to happen, but it happens by the hand of people. Allah wants people to help in this cause. And the idea, of course, is important because it repudiates the idea of pacifism in faith, that because we believe in God, we are pacifists. We never fight, we never take sword, we never shed blood, because we are, for example, we have faith in God. It's only God who can take lives. Things like that the pacifists would say. Allah here, of course, rejects that idea. Pacifism is not part of faith in the Quran, because pacifism means that the faithful should sit until the faithless would come and destroy everything. And Allah doesn't want that, certainly. So, this is the meaning, وَلَوْلَا دَفْعُ اللَّهِ النَّاسَ بَعْضَهُمْ بِبَعْضٍ لَفَسَدَتِ الْأَرْضِ, mentioned by many exegetes, which goes very nicely with the context of the verse. However, other meanings are mentioned here. I think they are mentioned as a sort of addendum to this meaning, because the other meanings are not in the context of the verse. معناه يدفع الله بالبر عن الفاجر الهلاك. Allah would remove destruction of disbelievers by the presence of believers. Because there are believers on the earth, the disbelievers are not destroyed, are not perished, because their life continues. If all the believers are somehow do perish from the face of the earth, then of course Allah would bring azab and everything is destroyed, because the main purpose of life is gone. The purpose of life is not we come to this world for a certain time, live and have pleasure and then go. So if it was not for the sake of for the fact that believers, good people live on the earth, and they somehow repel destruction from everyone, then of course the earth would have been destroyed completely, the people would have been destroyed. This is mentioned by, this is something reported from Imam Ali alayhi salam. It is a right idea in its place, of course, but it is not in the context of the verse. It's mentioned by Imam Ali, reported from Imam Ali, from Qatada, and many early exegetes. Now we have a hadith in Al-Kafi, also reported in Al-Ayyashi from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, who says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَدْفَعُ بِمَنْ يُسَلِّ مِنْ شِيَئَتِنَا أَمَّنْ لَا يُسَلِّ مِنْهُمْ. Allah would remove difficulties or remove destruction from our Shia by those who pray, remove difficulties from those who do not pray by those who pray. So those who pray actually bring blessing for those who do not pray as well. يدفع بمن يصلي من شيئتنا أمن لا يصلي منهم ولو اجتمعوا على ترك الصلاة لهلكوا. And if all of them abandon salat, then they would have been perished. The whole Shia would have been perished. ويدفع إن الله لا يدفع بمن يزكي من شيئتنا أمن لا يزكي منهم ولو اجتمعوا على ترك الزكاة لهلكوا. The same thing with zakat. Allah would remove or repel destruction from those who do not pay zakat by those who pay zakat. If all of them would somehow concurrently do not pay zakat, then they would have been destroyed. And the same thing about إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَدْفَعُ مَنْ يَحِجُّ مِنْ شِيئَتِنَا أَمَّنْ لَا يَحِجُّ مِنْهُمْ. Allah removes difficulties from those who do not perform Hajj by those who perform Hajj. There is another hadith similar in meaning, reported from the Prophet, peace be on him, that he said, لَوْلَا عِبَادُ اللَّهِ رُكَّعْ وَسَبِيَابٌ رُضَّعْ وَبَهَاءُ مُرُتَّعْ لَصَبَّ عَلَيْكُمُ الْعَذَابَ صَبًّا. You are so many sins on the earth that if it was not because of those servants who bow down for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and for the babies who are suckling, and for the animals who are pasturing, Allah would have sent azab on the earth. The animals are very interesting here. The animals are innocent creatures, and it is because of them that Allah is removing it, because they are pasturing on the earth, because they are living on the earth, Allah is actually stopping azab to come down on the earth. And from Jabir ibn Abdullah, قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إن الله يصلح بصلاح الرجل المسلم ولده وولد ولده وأهل دويرته ودويرات حوله ولا يزولون في حفظ الله ما دام فيهم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would bring good, or would make good, because of a good person in his life, would make his children good, his grandchildren good, and the people who live in the vicinity He makes them good. And continuously they are fi hifdillah until that person lives. So a very faithful person is a blessing, for not for only for themselves, but for the people who live around them, for their children, for their grandchildren, and things like that. Okay, it says وَلَوْلَا دَفْعُ اللَّهِ النَّاسَ بَعْضَهُم بِبَعْضٍ لَفَسَدَتِ الْأَرْضُ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ ذُو فَضْلٍ عَلَى الْعَالَمِينَ. But Allah has fazl and grace over people. It means that there are always people who defend faith. There are always people who are there for faith, who sacrifice for faith, and therefore they are the blessings of Allah, fadlullah ala nas, ala al-alamin. Tilka ayatullah natluha alayka bil-haq wa innaka lamina al-mursalin. This is a sort of finishing verse to the stories which have been told before, especially about David and Goliath and Talut and Samuel and all these things. These are signs of Allah. We recite for you. Bil-haq means in truth. In truth, we are reciting them. Now, ayatullah may mean ayat of communication. These ayat that you are reciting, you weren't there with Talut or David or Goliath. You didn't know any of these things. So these are ayatullah, the communication of God coming to you. Or it means ayat as signs of power. You see how Allah, for example, helped David to kill Goliath, how a small group of people overcame a big group of people. So these are ayatullah that natluha alayka bil-haq wa innaka lamina al-mursalin. This shows you are from mursalin. This shows that you are one of those messengers who are sent from us. And also it connects these verses to the next verse, which says tilka ar-rusul faddalna ba'dhum ala ba'dhin. So no, verse number 253, تلك الرسل فضلنا بعضهم على بعض منهم من كلم الله ورفع بعضهم درجات وآتينا عيسى ابن مريم البينات وأيدناه بروح القدس. These are the apostles. All the apostles who were mentioned before. Many prophets, we know that almost all prophets mentioned in the Quran were mentioned in Surah Baqarah before this. And it alludes to all of them. These messengers, these are the messengers, some of whom we gave an advantage over others, or some of them who we raised them with degrees over others. فَضَّلْنَا بَعْضَهُمْ عَلَى بَعْضٍ. Some of them are those to whom Allah spoke, and some of them He raised in rank, and we gave Jesus, son of Mary, manifest proof and strengthened him with the Holy Spirit. Telka here, of course, telka usually is not used for living, for intelligent beings, but because this is a jama'a, telka al-rusul means telka al-qawm, for example. Telka al-rusul ulaika ladhina taqaddama dhikruhum. Those anbiya that we mentioned, these are the rusul. Faddalna ba'dahum ala ba'd. Some of them we raised over others. It's interesting because here David is mentioned and this tafdhil is mentioned again. We have another verse in Surah Al-Isra which talks about tafdhil, and again David is mentioned. وَلَقَدْ فَضَّلْنَا بَعْضَ النَّبِيِّينَ عَلَى بَعْضٍ وَآتَيْنَا دَاوُودَ زَبُورًا. Again, this Zabura means a very special Zabur we gave to David. So this tafdhil al-Nabiyin is mentioned there as well. Now, where does tafdhil come from? Why some messengers are higher in rank than other messengers? Is it because of what they do? Is it because of what they struggle in life? Or it is something which is from grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only? It's not something that they earn in their lives. Almost all exegetes say that this is tafdhil al-tafadduli, not tafdhil al-kasbi. This is a tafaddul, a grace from Allah, not something which is earned by them. And we know that many things are given to everyone in this life, which are all grace of Allah. I mean, for example, some people are more intelligent than others. This is grace of Allah. This is not something that they have earned. Some people are more powerful than others. Some people are more spiritual in their in their attitude. Not that other people who are not that spiritual haven't earned it. No, Allah has given it to them as a grace. And we know many people who have these graces from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is something based on His hikmah. We don't know why these differences are there. We know people are not equal in their capacity, in their intelligence, in their spirituality, and all these things. So these are graces of Allah given. Not that people who are less spiritual cannot attain a great reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but of course their attitude is different from the attitude of those who are more spiritual. And everyone, of course, is لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا ما آتاها. Allah would not question anyone, would not burden anyone except with what they have, He has given them. Now, this tafsir tafazzuli, the exegetes have mentioned why. For example, this tafazzul is given to some and not to others. Especially the nubuwwah itself is a tafazzul. It's a grace by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not given to everyone. It is something which certain people are chosen for it. They are chosen from birth, like Isa alayhi salam, for example. Not that they have tried to become a Nabi. They have been given nubuwwah by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So here, first of all, I want to mention a very interesting expression in Lata'iful Isharat of Qushayri, who was one of the great mystics of the 5th century. He says, تِلْكَ الرُّسُلُ, these are Rusuls. He said, جَمَعَتْهُمُ الرِّسَالَةِ. All of them are, of course, equal in having messengership, in having risala. جَمَعَتْهُمُ الرِّسَالَةِ وَلَكِنْ تَبَايَنُوا فِي خَصَائِصِ التَّفْضِيلِ. But they are different in their features of grace. لِكُلَّ وَاحِدٍ مِّنْهُمْ أَمْوَالٍ. Every one of them have different lights. They have lights, وَلَأَنْوَارِهِمْ مَطَارِعَ, and these lights have many benefits which are given. However, some of them have more light than others. فَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ هُوَ أَعْلَى نُورًا. And some of them have more elevation in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We don't know why this has happened. He says that فَلَمْ تَكُنْ فَضَائِلُهُمْ استحقاقهم على أفعالهم وأحوالهم. These fadail, these graces that Allah has given, is not because they deserved it, because of their actions. It is because of the hikmah that Allah knows. And this has been mentioned by almost every exegesis. It's a maslaha for everyone, not maslaha for them. It's a maslaha, it's a hikmah that people cannot be guided to Allah without these graces which are given to certain people. Some people think that everyone should be equal, but some of them try better, try more, and they become anbiya, for example. No, it's not like that. If that was like that, no one would have been guided. Some people are given certain grace, and by that grace they receive the light of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then they guide others. So these tafazzul that Allah has made for these people is a maslaha which only He knows why certain people are given and others are not given. So in Majmu' al-Bayan it says al-ibtida'u bil-fadila qad yakunu lil-maslaha allati lawlaha la fasad at-tadbir. It's for a maslaha, it's for a good cause. If it was not there, everyone would have been corrupted. If it was not there, the tadbir of Allah would have been corrupted, and it would have led to everyone losing their reward and entering paradise. So we should not be sort of picky on this cause, that why Allah gives this grace to some people and not to others, because if it was not given to some, no one would have entered paradise. It is for the good of people to enter paradise that Allah has done that. Now, here there are many other meanings mentioned for this tafdhil that we have to leave it inshallah for next week. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammadin wa alayhi tahirin.
Thank you very much indeed, Shaykh. It was very interesting. You clarified so many points about the grace and tawaddul, and we'll continue with the question and answer.
Assalamu alaikum. Eid Mubarak to you. as Mohammed as I mentioned, in fact, there are too many questions in my mind. I'm still trying to digest it.
It's
But
made or answered?
I don't know if they may be answered or not. But because this is relating to the earlier part, one of the points you mentioned was that if it was not for the facade and Allah wanted the protection of worshipping places, and therefore it was necessary for that, whether it was mosques or churches or whatever. It was a general thing that you mentioned. And the thought that came to my mind at that point in time, which I want to clarify, is that that is in that specific context of that time, what was happening. Today, for example, can we, if we know, for example, that some Buddhists in some part of Asia or another religion are being prosecuted systematically, can we, even though they are not Muslims, defend them and for their places or not? Or is this something only left for people who are prophets or whatever? What I'm trying to do in the context of the modern world, can we take another interpretation that this is part of our responsibility or not?
Well, it depends.
I'm not talking specifically about Muslims. I'm talking about other than Muslims.
But this is a case-to-case judgment. I mean, we cannot give a sort of blanket ruling for everything on every time. Yes, certainly. Of course, as I said, anyone oppressed is the duty of Muslims to help them. Oppressed people, even if they are not believers, any oppressed. But specifically for places of religious persecution, Imam Khomeini has a very interesting idea in one of his books that he says that people of all religions are exempted from sort of being judged by Allah as why you are not Muslims, for example, because they all have certitude in what they believe in. And certitude, Allah cannot tell them, why did you have certitude in this? Certitude is something that people have no control over, you know. I mean, you are certain that your faith is good. But what if it's wrong? Is Allah going to punish you? So he says that no people of no faith, especially the lay people, are going to be questioned by Allah for that cause. And even he says for their ulama as well, because their ulama are also indoctrinated in that way from childhood. And therefore, yeah, they should be free in their faith. We should not no one should persecute them in the faith. Now, is it the duty of Muslims to protect? That's a different thing. As I said, it's something that is case to case. Yeah.
Thanks for raising the point and also the clear answer. It was probably bothering many of us. Thank you, Mr. Any sisters? No, any brother? Yeah.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Eid Mubarak. Sheikhna, we missed you and I missed you badly. So inshallah next time you don't take that much time to be away from us.
Inshallah.
My question is, Allah khair al-adilin. Allah yurzuq liman yasha wa yahdi liman yasha. At the same time, Allah yufaddil ba'dan ala akharin. I'm muscling in my head, how is it all that possible? At one time, khair al-adilin, so distribute all the wealth, the hikmah, the knowledge to all people. At the same time, distinctly pick up different people for different cause. Whilst I do acknowledge, we're not all the same. So I just want to have a bit more, if you like. How would I do that?
Put yourself in shoes of God, God forbid, okay? You want to create a world, okay? Human beings. And these human beings are meant to go to paradise by their own actions, by the earning of their own struggle, okay? Now, then you are God, you say, okay, they have to go to paradise, but who's going to guide them? So should I not place some people among them that know better than others so that they guide them? And again, you have to say, yes, I have to put these people there. So you create certain people in that way to guide them. Then you say, well, these people should live on the earth socially. Should not some people be more intelligent than others so that they could lead other people rightly? Yes, We put some people who have more intelligence there. You see, this is all hikmah. It's not a matter of justice. It's a matter of hikmah. It's a matter of tadbir or management. And therefore, it's not against justice that Allah wants to give certain people more. It's not something that He owes us. He doesn't owe anyone anything. So He gives some people, based on hikmah, more. I'm sure if you place yourself in the shoes of God and look at the earth, people living, you would have done the same thing. Would have given some more and some less.
Any sisters? Thank you. Any sisters? Brother Manzoor? No, Manzoor, yeah. Hello, yeah. Switch it. Press this one.
Assalamu alaikum. You mentioned that because of the good actions of some people, God protects those people who are not are doing something evil, and therefore the actions of the good people protects the people who are doing the evil actions or evil. Can it be the reverse, that the actions of the evil people also affects the good people and can take away the good from them? And how would it work that way also?
Of course it does. It does. It's an interaction. I mean, they kill Imam Hussain alayhi salam, they kill Anbiya. So they do all these things. However, there is a balance there, that always there are faithful who defend faith, there are faithless who want to destroy faith, and this balance will go until the Day of Judgment.
Thank you. Any sisters? Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum. Eid Mubarak as well. So that means some people are predestined before. When you say, because they've come up with this hikmah and the guidance from Allah. So how would be sort of what determines that factor? Is it Allah's choice completely, we leave it, or is it, it's a question of, again comes as a rebirth or whatever. What always sort of a puzzle me is what factor would determine that you come with that wisdom and hikmah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
No, there's no rebirth, of course, but everyone is predestined. I mean, predestined to come to this life, predestined to have certain sort of duration of life, predestined to many things. However, the idea is that majority, 99.9999% of people, live in a way that they have to earn paradise, okay? For these people to earn paradise, there is this 0.00001% of people who are given the grace by Allah and made prophets to guide other people. And their judgment, their day of judgment, whatever happens to them is very different from us, from ordinary people. Other people, I mean, those 99.9999% of people, they're all the same. They have to try, they have to go to paradise. But for them to be like that, they need that Anbiya, who are a very, very minority among people. They need them. It is maslahah. Now, how are they being judged is something which Allah, of course, they are not judged in the same way as we are judged. So the maslahah tells us that there are some people who are needed for the mass population of humanity to guide them, and Allah has provided them for us. That grace should not be seen as injustice by Allah, and that's different from the Allah yahdi man yasha wa yudhillu man yasha. That's for everyone. Everyone, if they believe in whatever Allah communicates to these prophets, Allah will guide them in their heart. This is for everyone. And if they do not, Allah will misguide them. This guidance and misguidance is different from initial guidance that Allah sends for everyone. Then those who do not accept, Allah would not guide them in their hearts.
So every human being have a capacity to come to that stage?
To Nubuwwah, no. Not to Nubuwwah, but has the capacity to be guided by Anbiya. Has the capacity to be guided by Anbiya. So it should be very clear. Anbiya are a different rank of people. They are created to guide, not to be guided. They are created to God, and people need guidance. Anyone who follows them has the capacity to reach higher levels of paradise.
Thank you. Before we go back to Firoz, is there any other brother on the jet side? No, Firoz? Oh, okay, thank you.
Thanks very much, Sheikh. Nubuwa, the Anbiya will have a very high station in paradise. But they've already been granted a high station before their existence. So where is the justice in that?
As I said, this is not a point of justice, this is a point of maslah, all right? Certainly when they have a high position in this world, they have a high position in paradise as well. And however, it's not guaranteed for them, in the sense that they have certain duties to do on this earth. The more they have, the more duties will come, the more responsibility will come. And you see what big responsibility, for example, Moses alayhi salam had, our prophet had, or any other prophet, what big responsibility. If they shunned these responsibilities, not only they lost those high ranks of paradise, they would have gone to hell. So it's not the case that they don't have any responsibility in this world. But of course, Allah knows who to choose so that they would not go that way. We have to rule out this idea of justice in this matter. This is not a place for justice. It's a place for maslaha and hikmah.
Thank you. Sisters, any sisters? No? Okay, Firoz, back. Okay, fine.
Assalamu alaikum. Sorry, but one of the things you mentioned was that Dawood was given a special zabur, right? So the question that comes to my mind, that there must be other prophets that were given zabur, correct? Yes. So is this zabur like a special version of a book, or is it just that there were more information in the zabur that I just need to understand that?
These are books containing hikmah, but not laws. Laws are given to certain prophets. For example, David was following the law of Moses, was following Torah in terms of law. But in terms of hikmah, he was given a book full of hikmah who guided him and others as well. The books which are said, for example, 25 sahifa was given to Adam alayhi salam, 50 sahifa were given to, sahifa here means surahs. That's, for example, a book was given to Adam alayhi salam containing 25 surahs, or to at least containing 50 surahs. Okay. These were all zaburs. Okay. They were not laws in them. They were hikmah to guide other people. So the difference between zabur and kitab is that kitab is a book, which we only have 5 of them, for ulul azm, is a book containing hikmah and rulings. But zabur are the books which are given to prophets who follow other prophets' books. For example, all Anbiya of Banu Israel followed Torah. They didn't have their own books as books of ruling. So the difference is that Kitab has rulings and hikmah, Zabur only contains hikmah.
Okay. The other question following on is that, are there any, do we have any historical records of any of these Zabur that have survived?
Yeah, Zabur Dawood, yeah.
So, and it is authentic?
Also, there are other books, for example, mentioned in the Bible, the books of other prophets. Some of them may have come from, of course, mainly they are accounts of their lives, but some of them may contain part of what were given to them.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any sisters before we go?
Have especially in the Quran a verse mentioning previous books, Suhuf Ibrahim wa Musa. Now, Suhuf here means surahs. The surahs which were given to Ibrahim and Musa, but these Suhuf were kutub, not the Zubur.
Thank you. Any sisters? No, Muhammad on the brother side.
Shaykh, when there were words, the world is mentioned, and also mentioned the destruction of the earth. So are those words interchangeable, or has it got a deeper meaning, the earth compared to the world? And in reference to
Alameen, you mean?
Sorry?
The words you mean,
yes,
Alameen?
Yes, and in that reference, when you say there'll be corruption, so Allah repels those people. are we talking about corruption by just simply human beings, or is there a greater meaning to corruption?
Well, corruption, fasadat al-ars mainly means corruption of human beings. Human beings would have been corrupt. But we may actually generalize that everyone would have been destroyed, including animals and everything on the earth. But mainly it means that the people who live on the earth, because we are human beings, we are talking about human world, and highest level, yeah. So it would have been corrupted. Everyone would have become disbelievers. And this is the greatest corruption on the earth.
Because the animals are not capable of corrupting the world, are they?
No, they are not. No, only human beings are able to corrupt the world.
Okay. Thank you. Sisters? Any sisters? Any sisters?
Even dinosaurs were not able to
No,
corrupt the world.
sisters. Okay. Sarfraz? No, Sarfraz.
Why do you make references to human beings that you
Well, because they have the capacity to make the world, the earth, the best place in the whole universe, isn't it? And we have the capacity from both.
names of animals, is that in a different regard altogether? Your dog or your swine or donkey?
Sorry, I don't understand the question.
The reference is made to human beings, that you can fall down to the levels of animals.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, in terms of the capacity for guidance, of course, the animals have free will as well. You see the differences between animals. And even in one species, you see differences between individuals of animals. The way they decide, the way they are trained, the way they behave are different from others. And that's why we believe that they have judgment on the Day of Judgment as well, but to a very lower level than human beings have.
Thank you. Sarfraz?
Sheikh, when we're coming back to the maslahah of the prophets, can you clarify something? I mean, we all have a great spiritual capacity, but many of us don't ever reach anywhere near that. The prophets are different from us in that they've been given a greater capacity, and they've also had to struggle to reach that capacity. So I don't see any injustice in that. I mean, what they've got is because of what they've struggled.
No, the capacity they have initially, and next week, inshallah, we will explain that in more details. But yes, they have to reach from one certain level to higher level by what they do. They have a'mal and everything. However, that initial capacity is a grace that no one else has. That's the difference. Initial capacity is a grace that no one else has.
Thank you. Sisters?
Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh. So, if Allah has bestowed whatever He wants to on you with His grace, and you yourself feel that you want something that you haven't been given, do you ask for it, or you say, well, this is my cup and I can't ask for something that Allah hasn't given me?
Our capacity is huge, Yes, actually in Majma al-Bayan he says that there are certain things which are given by human desire. And we ask Allah for it, and He gives us. But you never ask Allah, Ya Allah, make me a prophet, It's impossible. But you can Ya Allah, make me a very good person. Give me such and such grace, for example. But never you can ask Allah, Ya Allah, make me a prophet, because it's impossible. Allah has chosen them already.
Thank you. Mahbub? Can you press on the top button?
Sheikh, are the Zoroastrian follower of Dawood, and was he given a Sharia thing?
Zoroaster himself was a prophet, of course, and he had a book, Avesta, and it was not it was a Zabur, actually. Avesta was a Zabur, not a book of law as these 5 books of 5 prophets are. He was of course, messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. His followers were monotheists. But gradually, as for example, Christians somehow diverged in their belief from monotheism, his followers also diverged and went farther away from monotheistic faith. But initially, of course, they are. So Zoroastrians are not very different from Christians in the sense that they believe in 2 sources, for example, as they say, 2 sources, source of evil and source of good in the creation. It is a sort of, as we believe, a distorted version of Zoroaster's teachings, as we believe that what Christians believe today is a distorted version of what Jesus Christ taught.
Thank you. Any sisters?
I It's the same can be told about Hindus as well.
Absolutely, absolutely, yes.
So there's no, I think we discussed this before, there can't possibly be any community in the world, historically, that hasn't been sent to guidance. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would have made sure that all these prophets that He sent.
Well, it's
from
very
day one.
clearly mentioned in the Quran, وَإِن مِّنْ أُمَّةٍ إِلَّا خَلَا فِيهَا نَذِيرٌ. There is no nation unless a messenger had come to there.
Thank you. Just sisters? Any sisters? No? Riyadh?
Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh. With the issue of governments and people, republics rising and falling, we've seen that throughout history. So Islam's had its days, Christianity's had its days. These days we see a new movement. There is no prophet as such, but the Greenpeace and their saving this earth effort and campaign is gathering a lot of momentum. Predominantly, it doesn't need a God, it just needs David Attenborough to get everybody focused that we are destroying the world. Yeah? So can we keep that in perspective? I'm totally aware that the ayat says exactly that if there is one particular ideological idea that takes over the world, it will be a problem. In the same way, when in the Surah Rum, it says, Ghulibatul Rum. So Islam doesn't talk about destroying the civilization of Rome. No, it lets its own path because it knows that every civilization will rise and fall. Right now we have a great Satan ruling the world. And there are people who are going to topple that as well. It will happen in time. But can we talk about this new movement? Because it seems to be gathering such a lot of pace that it's going to soon become a political movement if it's got the right leader. And it will be focusing everybody's attention on saving the world. Is that a good thing or a bad thing, and where are we going with it, please?
You mean saving the planet?
Yes, that's right, yes.
But saving the planet is different from saving the world of human being, okay? These are two different things. Allah mentions the fasad or corruption as if among human beings faith goes away. Whether they preserve the planet or they do not preserve it, whether they make the planet a good place to live or not, if faith goes away, it is corrupted. And so these are two different ways of approaching the whole idea. Yeah, of course, as believers have to save the planet, have to do their duty towards it, but it doesn't mean that by doing that, human being is saved. This is the sort of very secular, atheistic view that saving the planet is saving the human being. That is good, of course, that's very good, but it doesn't mean that corruption is gone. Corruption is where disbelief is, and corruption, you see one of the most glamorous civilizations of the world, you call it Great Satan, isn't it? So why you call it Great Satan? Why it's one of the most advanced civilizations of history? Because of the corruption of their actions.
Thank you. Any sisters? Sheikh, just quickly, I want to clear one point, if brothers don't mind, is you discussed that hikmah and nabuwat are different things. And in nabuwat, I think the hikmah comes together as well in the risalat. So does hikmah prevent a person from sinning?
In the sense that it's a knowledge, yes. I mean, if you have the knowledge of the gravity of sin, certainly you wouldn't do that. If you have the knowledge of what is certainly good, and you have the ability to follow it, you would do that. And certainly hikmah would stop people from... But
even the
free will wouldn't go away.
Yeah. So even the slightest sin that hikmah will prevent that person. Because in the back of my mind is that we believe as a Shia theology that all the prophets were sinless. And so,
yes, of
hopefully,
course.
So they had the hikmah that gradually then developed into nabuwa and risala. And because of that, they were able to keep away from themselves from the sins.
That doesn't, of course, overrules the free will. But despite having the free will, they certainly never go never approached it.
Okay, thanks. Any other brothers? Manzoor?
Assalamu alaikum. I just wanted to mention something which is not part of this tafsir, but this week is the 30th anniversary of the passing of the Ayatollah Khomeini. Maybe if you can shed some light on his life and then the lessons that we can learn, and maybe for another 30 years can be some
I
sort
think
of
you
guidance.
asked the question a bit late. It takes long to go through it. Maybe next week, inshallah.
Thank you, Majid Sheikh. So, inshallah, Muhammad wa ali Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.